Good morning, folks, and welcome to FYI for your information. Welcome to our broadcast. Good to have all of you with us this morning. Let us know if you are hearing us clearly. Do let us know if you see us clearly. That is our intention, believe it or not. Believe it or not, to be heard clearly, to be seen clearly. And good to be on with you folks. Another day is 11th day of February. Friday's Valentine's. We'll be off. We'll be off. Good to have all of you folks by the same measure on the live today. That's the important thing. Good to have each and every one of you. We're so happy that you folks are here with us, the people who matter to us the most. Please and thank you. Good to have all of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Share the live, good folks. Smash that emoji button. We're sharing too. We're sharing too. Glad to have all of you all here. Coral Providence and Akeem, is it Kutzen? Good to have you here. The Honorable Camille McKenzie is on the live as well. Good to have you, Camille, with us this morning. So much happening in our country. Don't you think so? And folks, in this political season, oh boy, it's getting more and more bizarre, isn't it? Isn't it getting more and more bizarre, Evelina? Camille says the Honorable, sorry, my apologies. The Honorable Camille McKenzie says it's heating up. My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days. My Lord, what's happening? It's getting hot, it's getting hot, it's getting hot. Claire Alexis Chamley Richmond. How are you doing, Claire? Good to have all of you on the live. Wayne, Kesney. Good to have you. Leslyn Hamilton. Good to see you too, Leslyn. You know, we related to the Hamiltons from Babis. Annette Cummins, Everett, Fennell, Gwyneth. Great to have you on the live this morning. Pretty Milicia, how are you doing? Avril and Dolly. Yeah? Yeah. You know, even if my wife doesn't watch the program live, you know, she gets the updates. So she was telling me, I hear you're taking Friday off, boy. I hear you're taking Friday off. Pretty Milicia, Don Sullivan, Everett, Dominic Gonzalez. Great to have you on the live, Dominic. Yep. My wife has a healthy distrust of me. Which wife doesn't? Healthy distrust. Yep. She's certain of her doubts. Oh, yes. Sandra Ford, good to have you in the live this morning. Sandra. Sandra said, we dare. Mm-hmm. Amen to that. We dare. We outside. Lots happening, folks. How many of you caught this last evening? Let me reemphasize what Camille said. Let me reemphasize for just a quick minute. Something that Camille said. Yeah. What's happening with Ghana Daily News? I understand. Like the Republicans, people like will always have an appetite for trash and foolishness. I understand. Like the Republicans, but my God, what's happening? Folks, what's going on? I want you all to know. Neon Harding, Brenda, take nothing for granted. The people are desperate. You know, we have a analogy we use. I think it's specific to Guyanese. Right. We have a truism. We got a metaphor. We say when a dog learns to suck egg. When a dog learns to suck egg, you gotta say it raw. It's difficult for anything else. Them boys taste the sweet, the fat, the honey. And them boys they want to come back, you know. Them boys they want to come back. So you had this interview, and I've seen lots of comments, none complimentary to Birdness, none complimentary to GDN, Ghana Daily News. My God. But in all the comments that I have seen, in all the comments I have seen thus far, I think the one by Telford Lane, right. God bless his soul, Telford Lane, I think that one was potent, cogent, succinct. I thought that, that's the one there. This interview, let me touch on some of what the goodly gentleman in my Nigel Hughes voice. Let me see the coffee. Let me touch on some of what the goodly gentleman said about this interview. Pronounce your H's. Pronounce your H's. This interview. Telford Lane. I don't know the fellow personally. But from what I can tell, he's qualified in this area. I like leave things to people who qualified in it. Right? We have a graphic artist on our payroll. I make it sound exciting. We got a graphic artist trying to help you out. He's sorry for we. Right? And in return, you know, we give him an honorarium. Let's just call it the honorarium. He deserves much more. But because things are constantly tight at our end, constantly tight, you see what we? Constantly tight. Right? I could try to knock up some graphic things, but it won't come out the same way as somebody who is qualified in that area. And Telford Lane seems to be qualified in this area. Morning, Stoby, Naomi Drucker. I haven't had the stomach to watch the thing. There's only so much of Birdness I can take. Or GDN. And that's a potent combination there. Lethal combination. So I speak my poison. Hear what Telford Lane says. That aside. Whatever it is. Here's what Telford Lane says. Sexual abuse requires the greatest care, diligence, understanding, process, and intervention compared to physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental abuse combined. I think what Lane is saying is that it requires a different skill set. Sexual abuse. The goodly gentleman goes on to say, what we saw, what you all saw in this interview, was a combination of rum shop, sit down. I love his characterization He said it was a rum shop, sit down. Right? And I dare say because it's Birdnest we're dealing with, his rum shop, cook shop, salt jar, bottle fly. Rum shop, cook shop, salt jar, bottle fly. Sit down, fueled by evil. Oh my God. Telford, come to the front of the class. You're teaching now. How come up? Notepad and pen. Rum shop, sit down, fueled by evil. Or, he continues, a miscarriage, or rather, sorry, it was a combination, he says. Rum shop, sit down, fueled by evil, or a continuation, that's the word, of miscarriage of justice for sexual abuse victim with crippling legacy. Oh my God. You can tell Telford went to school. And he intimed the books. It is apparent. It's occurred to me. He read it. He read it. He did some assimilation, internalization. And now we can apply it. But what he said next is very important to me. Right? Because he's summing up now what he saw. He has his clinical eye on. I got my good eyes off, but he has his clinical eyes on. He says you have traumatized her. You have exposed her to greater danger, including self-harming. It amazes me how we could all watch the same thing and we take away different things, like the Super Bowl halftime. We could all watch it and take away. Some people said boring, some people said it's exciting, some people said it was a waste of time. Worse, halftime show. Telford took this away. He said you have traumatized her, exposed her to greater danger, including self-harming. Number one. Number two, you expose her identity and the pressure of an open society. Number three, he says you have aided her in identifying the accused, but suggest you are a frequent visitor to that area with the accused. Oh, here's a story now. This is not us. Telford Lane, you abuse you. Dress he down. He said you were a frequent visitor to that area with the accused. Number four, this is important. He says you have a pending court matter with the accused. The same man you're trying to bring down. You were once taking boat rides and ski rides and hoverboats rides and go-kart rides, and you were borrowing his money. You have a pending court matter. Jesus have mercy. And here you are trying to bring him down and presenting yourself as an innocent bystander. You have a pending court matter with the accused. Fifthly, Telford Lane says, he said having the victim call the accused name while the interviewer supports the assumption that it happened. Sixth, even if the accused did it in a court of law, the case is lost. Even if the court is the case has lost all its merit and chance of justice. Seventh, he said giving the alleged victim's reasoning to support her arguments, while she cannot recall certain key aspects of her alleged encounter, claiming unconsciousness, yet hearing conversation. And then Telford sum it up. Telford sum it up. He sum it up. He says, despicable, is evil, miscarriage of justice. He said the interviewer did worse than any sexual predator. Tell you what Telford Lane says, not me. He said the interviewer did worse than any sexual predator. I wonder if I can hear from Priya Manik Chan. I wonder if I hear from Suzanne Rodriguez. Guyana, did you know? Now you know. What if I hear from the usual sets who would run out, crawl out, roll out, flick out, swim out, if this was something that was done elsewhere? If this is something that was done elsewhere. And I saw some folks as well say, why not take her to the police? Why not take her to the police? Guyana Daily News has lost every little bit of credibility it ever had. Every little bit of credibility it has ever had. But we started talking about dogs sucking eggs. That's the period we're in. You think them boys can just roll over and say, y'all come, take the soil money and go down? You think that's what's going to happen here? Take the soil money. Y'all see contracts and businesses sheriff has opened under this administration. Y'all know the name sheriff prior to 2020? Be honest with me. I want the real truth. Y'all know the name sheriff before 2020? Now, in a short space of 4 years, sheriff got from hospital to federal parlor. From the cradle, the carrier to the grave. All in the short space of 4+ years. Y'all think them boys won't give all up? Them boys fighting for survival here. Fighting on arrival. Fighting for survival. This is a high stakes game. This is high stakes. And you know what? While some of us dilly-dally, shilly-shally, who gonna lead? Who gonna follow? Who gonna be the top of the ticket? Who's second in line? Oh, what are the terms of the agreement? First paragraph, second paragraph, meeting, upon meeting, upon meeting, about meetings, for meetings. Them boys fighting. The good book says we gotta contend for the faith. You gotta fight for it. Them boys fighting. What is happening here? Naomi, let me tell you what's happening here. Naomi said that she ain't getting the rich people fight. Let me tell you what's happening here. This is not just about a rich people fight. Only. Naomi. Right? Only. We agree we're not gonna we're not going to contradict each other in public. We're not gonna. It's not just about a rich people fight. What is happening here? They are seeing the good gentleman, the goodly gentleman, emanation from his voice. The goodly gentleman is gaining traction politically. And they are trying to define him out of the box. We all this video went with girls on boat. Right? We all these videos went all the time. I feel like the man now vexed because he on the boat. We all these videos went all the time. But we have to understand, This is what comes with the territory. You think if they got some video with me on a boat, they won't show it? That's why I stay off boats. That's why I stay out of water. Huh? The aim is to discredit. The aim is to pull down. And Ghana Daily News, they have peeled back the veil. And they're showing us who they really are. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. I just wish they had the balls. My apologies. The testicular fortitude to come on their own profiles and where you are. Right? But the cowards that they are, they're going to be hiding behind screens on the pseudonyms and fake profiles and launching attacks. Launching attacks. Right? They're not concerned. They got the money. They could open tomorrow 10 Ghana Daily News. And you say, look at this new one here. I like this one more than Ghana Daily News. I'm going over here by Daily News Guyana. Right? Or Daily Guyana News. You know you're going right back to your presser. You don't know you're going right back. But I just want you guys to see the level of desperation. That's what it is. And that is what we'll continue to see in this period. Right? And the racing sergeant, we on our mark. The same attraction Muhammad's getting. You think them hundreds of shares and views. That's gold politically. You think Jagdi and Irfan wouldn't rather their content was being shared 300, 400, 500 times? Thousands of times. You think Irfan, Ali and Jagdi wouldn't want their videos to be getting 300,000 views? That is what it's about. So they got to cut it down to size. They got to bring him down to size. Sanctions man and this and that. My Lord, this is where we are, folks. I have no doubt. Ashuddin Muhammad can defend himself. He know but them and they know but he. And this is where now we come in. Rich people problems. Rich people problems. They don't move in me circle. Oh, they move in their own circle. Diamond balls and Spanish girls swinging from chandeliers. They move in their own circle. $60,000 cafe lunches and brunches. Then by Best Western. Oh. So it's about that. Right. Rich on rich violence. But it's also about the future of this country. They see you all tuning in to what Muhammad have to say. Right. They say that despite the sanctions, you all are being endeared to the fella. No, they gotta bring out the girls now. You can hear he thief, he rob, he rape. That's the playbook. Right? He never take communion. One time in nursery school, he did blaspheme. He's used swear words. He got black book. And you're going to hear that countless times over. But Aubrey Norton, Nigel Hughes, conflict of interest. Oh my. Let not your heart be troubled. It is the season that we're in. It is the political season that we're in, good folks. But let's touch on a couple other things. But as Telford Lane says, that interview was despicable. The interview was despicable. It was evil. According to Telford Lane, you have to see it. It was a miscarriage of justice, the fella said. It did worse than any sexual predator. Because they're just using her to try to bring down. It's not about her. It's not about justice for her. It's about bringing Mr. Muhammad down in the esteem of Guyanese. That's what it's about. They don't care about her. $5,000 and a box of cook-up. How much different is that from what a sexual predator would do? And so I understand why Telford Lane says this is worse than that. The thing was right there, glaring in our eyes. Let's turn to some things happening internationally, and we go circle back. Circle back to some things on the local scene. You remember the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas? You know, Caribbean people is nowhere to run out. From Jamaica to Guyana, you remember that period? Oh, it's not Gaza, it's not Gully. I thought I'd see a lot of y'all signing up to go in the front line. I thought I'd see a lot of y'all signing up. It's Gaza. You know what? You know about the ravages of war? World War II poet Will to the Winds. That's a powerful poem for war. He chronicles, paints a picture of mangled limbs on the battlefield, desecrated, strewn bodies. And then he concludes by saying, Dulce decorum est mori. Do not say it is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. Where you guys are people there? Where the Gully? Guys and Gully from far. Guys and Gully from far. Well, they said some elements are threatening this ceasefire. And the folks in the Gaza, they're threatening to pull out. They said nothing irregular. See, I'm a Laurie Alexander voice. Nothing irregular. So this is what's happening, folks. It's what's happening. Hamas, they have warned that it may postpone the next phase of hostage releases. And they've been accusing Israel of violating the terms of the ceasefire agreement. The militant group claims that Israel's military actions have breached the deal. That's what they said. Raising concerns about this very fragile truce. Yet, notwithstanding, negotiations are continuing amid what they call growing international pressure to uphold the agreement and to secure the release of the hostages. Some of the things happening, folks, internationally. Some of the things happening internationally. Trump. So how about Trump? Remember we talked about how the U.S. judicial system standing up. And it's being reported that a third judge has ruled against President Trump's executive order aimed at restricting birthright citizenship. A third judge can strip people. The Constitution of the United States of America says once you're born within that geographical space, you're American. You ain't got no other qualification. Where your parents come from and all that. Don't matter. Once you're born within that territorial space, that jurisdiction, That is it. That is it. So third judge, watch the attack that's going to be launched now on the justice system. Watch for it. Watch for it. They said this ruling here is going to further complicate Trump's legal battles over his immigration policy, and is going to reinforce, this is what's important, judicial checks on executive power. Judicial checks on executive power. That's the heart of it, and that's the takeaway. I've been combing through some cases here over the last 4 years. And our courts have done much the same. In far too many instances, stating that the government acted unconstitutionally. Unconstitutionally. These same people who had a lot of problem with the Forbes-Burnham Constitution and the quote-unquote unfettered power of an executive president, they don't seem to bother these days. I don't see that as one of the things on the constitutional reform itinerary and agenda. It's like biometrics, and we come to that just now. It's like biometrics. In 2015, they talk one thing. 2020, life has changed. Our views have evolved. Our views have evolved. But I want to say thanks to the court system, the judicial system, for holding the line. And why do you think these boys don't want to appoint substantively? They don't want to appoint substantively the Chief Justice and the Chancellor of the Judiciary. The Chancellor of the Judiciary. Because they want that line holding too strong. That line holding too strong. So no matter how many times the Chief Justice acting rules in their favor, I should say that differently, not in their favor, like it's deliberately done. But in her own in her own deliberate judgment, it lands on their side. The trust isn't there. They want somebody, they want folks they can control. They want to know where you're landing. They want to know you're going to land where they tell you to land. This own deliberate judgment thing, no. They don't want that. Leave the thinking to us. Leave the thinking to us. Leave it to us. Leave it to us. Before we get there to some local matters, it's the hypocrisy in the PPP for me. The sheer hypocrisy. It is that for me. Because as I said, in 2015, them boys had one thought about biometrics. 2020, it has evolved. And oftentimes I've heard the leader of the opposition, Mr. Norton, say, and I know for a fact when you compare what the PPP asks for on biometrics and what we're advocating for as a parliamentary opposition, They wanted to go much further. Much further. You all heard the GCOM leak tapes? You got a chairman of GCOM who's not in control? You have a chairman of GCOM who is clearly not in control. It seems to be what says Gunrat says. Unilaterally, she can say, all right, this is... I don't want to knock big people like us. Because I've said perennially, us big people, we got to stick together. We big people, we got to stick together. But she's a different kind of big. And we all get there. We all get there. But at this point, Chairman of GCOM doing more harm than good to herself, to her own legacy. She's stripping all that away. Stripping all of that away. Yesterday, the WPA, the Working People's Alliance, had a press conference, I think it was. And I like the fact that they brought this whole issue of biometrics back on the table. You know, the Elections Commission has said they don't have time to do it. It's appealing. We like aspects of it. We had a study done. We like some of it, but we don't have the time. I saw somebody sent me some information. One of our African countries did biometrics in 2-3 months. Millions of people. Senegal or one of those places. Millions of people, 2 to 3 months. And that's why I loved what the fellow said the other day about the cash grants. You could have an election in 12 hours. People go to a poll and sign up. Take a box or 2. How come this cash grant? Like months. Nothing irregular. So here is the Working People's Alliance. The WPA on this whole issue again of biometrics.
As regards the GCOM issue, both sides agreed that GCOM's continued resistance to the use of biometrics at the upcoming elections pose a serious threat to the integrity of those elections. Consequently, it was agreed that the opposition is left with no alternative but to move to an intensification of the pressure on GCOM on multiple fronts. Given the ramifications of this undertaking, we agreed to set up a joint working committee to further address the related issues and make recommendations in this regard for consideration at the next meeting.
That's what he said. But he expanded a little bit more on biometrics. And what I love about this is why I was getting at initially, but lost my train of thought somewhere. That even though GCOM has said it's good, we can't do it now. We can't do it now. But here is WPA in its meetings with the PNC stating that no, that's the last word. We are part of the stakeholders in this country. That's not the last word on biometrics. It's not. Brings it back on the front burner. Listen to Dr. David Hines expand some more on biometrics.
It was held last Wednesday, and the 2 working committees that were set up were, one, a committee was set up to advise the next meeting on what steps the joint opposition, in particular the WPA and the PNC, should take to push back against GCOM's resistance to the implementation of biometrics. We agreed that biometrics are imperative, along with a clean voters list, and that the absence of those mechanisms pose a serious threat to the integrity of the election. But we felt that we needed to hear, we needed more details on how we are going to move forward, what kind of protests we are going to mount, what kind of activities we are going to advance. As is well known, the WPA has proposed publicly and we proposed at the meeting that we should have a three-pronged approach. First, that we should have intensified public activity. Second, that we should engage CARICOM governments and other international stakeholders in an official way. And thirdly, we should explore possibilities of going to court to seek judicial review on whether it is GCOM's place to determine the timeline for an election, or whether that is the function of government. We felt that we needed a more structured proposal to consider. And it is in that regard that we agreed to set up a joint working committee, that is a committee that includes members from the PNC and members from the WPA, to advise the next meeting on what measures should be taken, given the broad areas that we have agreed on.
Yeah, excellent, excellent there. Again, Dr. David Hines from the Working People's Alliance, bringing back this issue, front burner. Front burner. He said it's imperative. Biometrics is imperative. It's not if Claudette wants it. It's not if says Gunraj wants it. Whoever else, if and buts. It is what is imperative. By the way, today is Tuesday, which means you got another protest outside of GCOM today. Biometrics, clean voters list, the whole gamut of issues. Claudette must go, Rohi must go, Gunraj, the whole pack of them must go. Interestingly, on Sunday, I heard businessman Terence Campbell on this issue as well, endorsing this move towards biometrics. You know, and echoing pretty much what Dr. David Hines said there later. Well, he couldn't be echoing afterwards. He was the forerunner that biometrics is imperative. You all see me editing myself in real time? Biometrics is imperative. Dr. Campbell.
Mr. Jagdeo had a genetic predisposition for eating his cake and having it. And it would be remiss of me with that opening video that you put out there on the biometric situation, not to highlight to viewers that I was not wrong. But I don't want to have a distraction over whether I am making racist comments, because I was not. So I will say Mr. Jagdeo has a penchant for eating his cake and having it. And here yet again, I think I highlighted about three things. I think it was renegotiation, fossil fuels, and what was the third one? I don't remember. Oh, the renegotiation, right? Fossil fuels, and there was a third one. I can't even remember now. So much been going on. But the point here is another case of Mr. Jagdeo calling for biometrics in 2015, coming to power again in 2020. But once he is in power, biometrics was no longer important. And so there's been no movement on biometrics. Let me add my voice to that of the entire opposition in saying it is absolutely important for this next election to be free and fair and produce a credible result.
Biometrics is imperative. Credible. Credible results, imperative, and don't let us lose sight of that. Because all of a sudden, Jack, you don't want biometrics. Don't let us lose sight of that. So let's touch on a couple other things before we bring the curtains down on today's program. And we have to go and wash up the morning dishes and so on. Let's touch on a couple other things, right? We're coming in internationally. City Hall telling us that this land that they stole and give to the Qataris, some rock bottom prices, sweetheart deals. City Hall says it's land. The huge expansive real estate, almost from Camp Street to, what road is that? Blessingen Road. 3 or 4 of those grounds given over for hotels. And you see the thing is now to you give space to hotels, and then somebody in power, they want the cafe. They want to run the cafe. They want to run the disco. They want to run the casino. We see y'all. Long time gone, short time come. So see the Hall come back to this issue and say this land is rightfully ours still. And then I see the PPP councillors saying, they're warning the mayor against unilateral decision making. Look, we should have gone a long time in the direction of an executive mayor. Long time ago. Decisions got to be made. You can't just circle the wagon indefinitely. Decisions got to be made. The city's got to move forward. Please and thank you. I'd love to know what the PP councillors have brought to the table since they've sat down there. What have you brought to the table? You're large and in charge. How better off a City Hall that your government is in power? Maybe we can talk about that and other things. Like the spirit of robberies. How they keep going up. How they keep increasing. What's happening in our country? You all remember when then First Lady was robbed? Was she still First Lady? Doesn't matter. Vashni? You all remember when Vashni was robbed? Cameron says, how you could trust Jagdio? The man jumped over the Mara broom. But yet he said, he didn't marry the girl. How you could trust? None of us is immune from robbery. And we have been getting with backs bust since the PP gone in. Is robbery you want to talk about? Is robbery? It's being reported a doctor was robbed inside a hostel compound. Middle of the day. Inside the compound he lived. I saw a video circulating somewhere up, I think, on the East Bank. A woman and her daughter walking through the street. Lights are there. Men punks on them. That thing's a traumatizing thing to be robbed. You know. You don't want to see the dark street again. You don't want to see street again. You can see the shock on the daughter. She just kept jumping up and down. When men punks on you unawares and see you in your street, you got light, you say you're safe. So your guards down. You can't let your guards down in this country socially, politically, religiously. It's gone, them boys gone with you just like that. Gone, they gone with you. So they robbed the doctor, robbed these young women. Young ladies missing. Tugville, secondary school student, Shanika Edwards, 12 years old. Her mother's in a desperate search for her. She was last seen in the school compound, or rather seen in her school uniform outside the school compound. This is since the 20th of January. The 12-year-old has been missing since the 20th of January. You could imagine the state the mother would be in. If your daughter missing, period, much more 12-year-old. I watched some disturbing video out of, I think it's in Kitts and Nevis, an autistic child running for what seemed like miles. Ended up jumping into the sea. Just the times we're living in. 12 years old. Shanika Edwards, let's help get her back home. Her mother is Chanel Edwards. Y'all know the people child there. Take her back to her family or to a police station. Please. Some of y'all can't see father, you know. Can't. Here, terrible flu is going around. You all be careful. Sanitize, social distance. And these things just getting like the PPP. You wish you had a flu shot for it. Right? Yeah, we're in a ballot thing, and that's the shot for them. But them boys are expecting some dosage, some medication, some shots coming. Hold straight. Y'all be careful out there. You know, like what Guyanese? We like Erasmus. We know everything. Since your neck back out, they know it's pressure. Pressure. Let's drink this little bush. We ain't got nothing that don't end with bush. You want foot swelling? Oh, they do me. Let's drink this little bush. You want hand hot you? Oh. Money coming, money coming. You want hand scratch your money coming. Let's drink this little bush. Isn't that how we do it? Isn't that how we do it? Let's drink this little bush. You start coughing, you start sneezing. Oh. Let's put the red dot. Tie this little red ribbon at the end of my clothes. The bad eye me. Let's drink this little bush. Take the door. Naomi, Camille, you got a problem. Little bush can't fix. You got a problem. Little bush can't fix. I grew up in a house with health professionals. We had nurses and folks like that. Uncle, aunt, mother. You know, they were the other side of the bush. You gotta refine that stuff. I grew up hearing bush and got dose. My wife on the other side. Come, drink this little drink this little Corilla. Drink this little Corilla thing here. My wife gave me something the other day. Look at this girl. In my mind, I said, I wonder for a quick second. This girl tried to kill me. I taste this little thing here. Yeah. Naomi said it there. Right? Naomi said that Muhammad got drink a little bush for Ghana Daily News and Critics. Got cleansed. You know? My wife can't give me the bush and tell me she love me at the same time. No, I disagree with her. I disagree. Said, because I love you, I gave the bush. I disagree with Allah. Of course, I didn't tell her that. I was thinking it though. I drink this thing here. The strongest rum could make you scrub your face like that. Right? So if y'all see I little more ugly these days, is that bush. When you scrub your face like that, you gotta come back, you know. Right? Critics drinking bushy whole life. Hurry have reached the top. Drinking bushy whole life. People said they get in the dosage. Yeah. He's with the bush. Bush and got dose. Bush and got dose. Selvin Peters, the national lawyer, Selvin Peters. Thanks for the thing. Thanks for the thing, Selwyn. Should I tell them what thing? Selwyn, thank you. Thank you so much. Well received. Thank you so much. Bush and Gandos. It's interesting, you know, Friday's Valentine's, we're going to be off. We're going to be off. But I look at my wife and I look at myself and like how we were raised. It's like Bush versus aspirin. Come. Yeah, you're looking a little yellow. Drink a little Bush. You get a little too tall. Drink a little Bush. My sister-in-law told my wife yesterday in my presence, she said, "You're getting fair, girl." I said, "She dry my color." Drink a little Bush. she dry my color. Like a transfer. Drink a little Bush. Selwyn, you find you're losing too many cases. What else I can tell you? What y'all can tell me? New River Triangle. We gotta get this story in Me's little bush. Is it coincidental that we got some trouble with Maduro and now Suriname acting up? Is it coincidental? Is this the first shot across across the bow, mate? Is this the first shot? There was an international conference recently, and there was a map. Suriname claiming the New River Triangle. Right? And then I see the private sector commission, and whether it's the national body or it's the Judicial Chamber of Commerce. I see the fighting Vishnu Durga, the friend, because he was rationalizing how this thing could, rationalizing apparently, allegedly, how Suriname could be theirs and it could be ours, or some rigmarole story like that. But as you all see, you don't get in certain fights. When you see enemies defeating themselves, you just left them. You leave them. But is it coincidental, apart from those guys, that Suriname taking up a little bit here now? Is it number portability? So they say now, if you have a phone number, you want to switch networks, you can without losing your number. I feel like this technology is like 20 years old. Everything comes down to us late. Everything comes here late. So I feel like no other country in the world got a problem with this. We now catch it. And they want you to somehow sue Huawei. They say, yes, thank you. You've done well, number portability. Is this like even a thing? It's like I don't know. Is it something? We saw it there. Drugs in school. Drugs in school. Kanu started watching it. Synthetic drugs. Drugs looking like candy. Drugs looking like sweetie. There seemed to be a rising prevalence in school. I heard my colleague Nima Flubes raised it in the National Assembly quite recently. At the edibles. You can see some children smiling to themselves all day. You don't know. You think it's just children being weird. It's nice time. But something we got to keep our eyes on. Right. We got to keep our eyes on. I saw folks comparing the houses that Men on a Mission building to the houses the Muhammad's building. And say, how come Men on a Mission building these little kanchi, scrawny, pole houses? How come? You got a private man doing these things much better without any government assistance or any subsidies. Maybe we should give them a subsidy and do this thing better for we. Government building some little matchbox houses. And you got a man privately saying, look, let's help these people. Privately. Finally, folks, finally. spoke about this last evening. As we come to program time, we spoke about this last evening. Bird nest. We started with bird nest. It's only fitting. The Tupui Group, the Tupui Bellevue Pump Station contract. 2 years later, 10% complete, $182 million later. Everything at a standstill. Member of Parliament Ganesh Mahipal and I were there on Sunday having a look for ourselves what's happening there at Bellevue. Yesterday we were up on the East Coast. Give them another contract. $600 million. Friends, family, and favorites. Flatterers and fornicators. Interviewers. Yeah. Last night we examined this issue on our night broadcast. We examined this issue on our night broadcast. Last evening, folks, we examined this issue. And here is some of what Ganesh said on the program last evening about this Tupui contract at Bellevue. The folks are saying it's going to be completed on time, despite delays. Hi, we hear better cockscrew. That's all I can say. We hear better cockscrew. Take a look and take a listen. Some of that discussion last evening. Take a look and take a listen. Some of that discussion we engaged in last evening.
The Bellevue Pump Station, which is the one to the west bank of Demerara, the farthest end of the west bank of Demerara. That is the infamous one, as we both know. And we have seen absolutely nothing. $182 million, as Zulfikar Mustafa told us, was given to the contractor. Did we see $182 million worth of work there? That's the question yet to be answered. But what we do see is that this contractor, outside of his lewd and nasty behavior on social media, which I don't know if he believes that is supposed to be disturbing me or you or anybody, but I am not worried about that level of distraction. We are elected by the people for a purpose, and that's what we're doing. Holding this government accountable and guaranteeing, assuring our nation and our people that we are better than them. And I know that we are better than them. When we look at the Bellevue Pump Station, absolutely nothing has been done save and except to dig a hole and allow water to accumulate, becomes stagnant to the point where it's now stink and it's creating an environmental hazardous ground for breeding vector-borne mosquitoes and those kind of things. Vector-borne diseases and so on can be easily gotten there. And the people in the community got to be worried.
Yeah. Ganesh, when was this contract awarded to Pui?
This was awarded in 2023. Yes, 2023. I think it was June or July of 2023. And it was supposed to be completed
now.
Yes.
And
we see no progress. And you know what I told Zulfikar Mustafa?
I was coming there, yeah. You didn't raise
the contract. You cannot have taxpayers' money going into the pockets of contractors and they're spending it gallivanting across the world, showing off progress report of what's happening in the mining industry. They seem to have engaged in mining now. Go showing progress report about this, about that. But we're not seeing any progress report about the Bellevue Pump Station.
Yeah.
We're not seeing progress report about all the projects that have failed under his watch. And you still have him enjoying taxpayers' money, using it for other purposes other than what it's intended for. I told Zulfi, I said, terminate the contract. It is within your powers to do that because clearly timelines are not being met. Clearly the contractor is displaying his inability to get the work done, even though you're telling me that July is the entire contract period will be up by July. Why should we wait till July to terminate when you have seen that this contract is failing to meet other deadlines to show us that he has completed the buffer dam, to show us that he has completed digging out the overburden, to show us that he brought up the concrete wall, the base is not there, the foundation, nothing is there. So you have plausible reasons to conclude that by July, this contractor will not meet the deadline to complete this project in its entirety. You have irrefutable evidence to show that he cannot reach the deadline of July of this year. So we don't have to wait until then. Are you telling me that the entire Bellevue area, the entire community that will be subject to the May-June rainfall, likely to be flooded from history, and you're telling me that you're willing to sacrifice all of that to wait until June to terminate the contract because that's the end of the contract period? You have irrefutable evidence to show that he will not be able to conclude it and complete this project. So terminate it now and take actions. Give it to another contractor and let the work go ahead. We should not be stymied with our progress and our development because you seem to have a favor or you seem to be a friend of this particular contractor.
Contractors seem to be a favorite. Ganesh, you did ask the minister in the National Assembly about the percentage completion of the Bellevue pump station, and what was that response?
10%. He said 10%. I don't know what. I guess the 10% was to take an excavator and dig out or to form that hole or to form that that depression. You know, to dig out the overburden so that you could have the actual space to work. I guess that was the 10%.
Yeah, and again, members of the public, this was a contract, as you heard, was awarded mid-2023. We were in 2025, heading to a 2-year mark on it. And MP Ganesh Mahipal, I said clearly, this contract cannot be completed. The minister did say, Ganesh, I know you mentioned it earlier, that this $183 million, $82 million, it was used for mobilization. It was used for materials, sheet piles, timber, and so on. Did you get a sense of that being underground there?
I didn't see those things. I don't know if they were there in a corner tucked away or if it's been hidden from the public. I did not see those things. And even if they were used for that purpose, what is the strength of them, knowing that they have been sitting there, if so, exposed to Mother Nature, probably filled with rust? Will it still serve the purpose intended? Will it still have that strength that it's expected to have at the time of usage? If you understand what I'm saying, when people are building their houses, they don't buy steel rods and just have it on the ground for 2 years and then suddenly decide, say, they're going to use it to build a house. They don't expose the steel rod to Mother Nature, rain, sun, and what's not. They don't allow it to get all of this rust, weakening it, depriving it of its intended or expected strength, and expect it to serve the same purpose. So even if you did mobilize and even if you do have materials there, will it be proper and will it serve its purpose to give us the expected result? Will it still be able to give us the lifespan this project, this pump station is expected to give us? If you understand what I'm saying. And these are things that are common sense. Nobody is going to have materials for 2-3 years and expect it to give them the same strength. When you build your house with materials like that, and in a year's time you see the posts start cracking, or you want to know why your house suddenly be on one side, you must understand why. You have compromised. You have compromised the integrity of the project by having faulty materials or using faulty materials for its construction. So even if the $182 million were used to get materials, having it sitting there for 2 years really and truly have compromised the integrity of the project if you still intend to use those same materials.
All right, that was MP Ganesh Mahipal, as I said, folks, walking us through some of what's happening there at the Bellevue Pump Station site. And of course, we talked about a number of issues, a number of other issues, a number of other pump stations last evening that are way behind schedule. Some no work going on site now, and in the case of the Bellevue Pump Station and the Tupui Group, they've been given other contracts. They have been given other contracts. Yep. They have been given other contracts. Believe it or not. Right? So while the man was last evening doing interviews and so on, such and so forth, could have been working, doing what you're actually being paid to do. Or is he being paid to do that as well? Perhaps. But that's going to do it for us at this end, folks. Thanks for staying with us. That's our time this morning. Marlon Thomas, Leon Harding, that's our time. That's our broadcast. Deborah Pearson, Dan Abrams, good to see you on the live this morning. Pierre Lecoq, good to see you as well. And Reginald Thompson, good to see Nigel Plass on the live. And Carla and Madhu, Marvel Shocks. Let me go. We see you there as well. Unity Elias, Beatrice Selby, good to see Anthony Jarvis, Leon Blair, Euclid Lambert. We see all of you folks. Thanks for joining us this morning. That's our time, good folks, and that's our broadcast. We're going to see you guys on the other side of the day. Please and thank you.